Call the meeting of the Town Properties Committee to order at 6:04 p.m. This meeting is being recorded by Area 58. The recording is not the official record of the approved minutes, will serve as the official record. Roll call, Caitlin Johnson is here, Keelan Smith is here, and Pierre Boyer, all members of the Town Property Committee. We'll move on to the next agenda item, which is the approval of meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
So I'd like to approve the meeting minutes from January 7th, February 2nd, February 5th, and February 7th.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye. I
Aye.
looked them all over. Great.
Let the record show that all the approval minutes have been, meeting minutes have been approved, and we will post those on the site as soon as possible. Next item on the agenda is the front door project. We did receive 5 bids on the front door, anywhere ranging from $35,500 to $63,427. We did let the selectmen know, and they did discuss it at their meeting earlier this week, and I believe they are going to be in contact with the lowest bidder to move the project forward.
They did, I was at the meeting on Monday, Tuesday, whatever day that was, I was there. They did approve, the bid came in from DDC Construction. It's approximately $35,000. I think that's what Nate had said, but they did approve that
Yeah, it's
at the meeting.
35,500.
So,
Okay, good. So we'll just wait next steps on what we need to do on
Okay.
that once they do get their contracts in place.
okay.
Next item on the agenda is the fire station citations. There isn't any updates on the 2 items that are still under review. I need to really talk to either the Liz or the selectmen and kind of determine, is there anything, I know there's no money in the budget, but is there anything we can do to somewhat appease what the state is citating us for, so that we can at least get their buy-in to either hold off or tell us we need to do something.
Right.
I haven't heard from the chief if there's any responses yet in regards to the answers that she's given them on the other 3 items.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming no news is good news on that front. I am going to send out an email over to the chief just to see if we can be copied on the responses going forward.
Okay.
Just so that we have record of it as a committee. Moving on to the next project is the water project. We are waiting for the town administrator to schedule a meeting with the town council, the selectmen, and ourselves to determine the next steps on the water project. No real updates on that outside of that. We need to determine, town council needs to review and kind of let us know how we're able to move forward, as not as a committee but as a town. And in the fire station project, same thing. We're waiting for that meeting to be scheduled with town council, selectmen, and ourselves to determine next steps. What I can say is at the selectmen meeting on Monday, we got the approval from the selectmen to move forward with trying to obtain grants and federal easemarks. We needed to get the permission of the selectmen in order before we could move forward. So we'll get that under place. We'll go back and review the different grants that may be available. There's also legislation that was passed in 2024 around public safety in the state of Massachusetts, but no action's been taken on it yet as of 6 months ago. Chapter 238, I think it's called. So I'll look that up and maybe even contact the Senator Fernandez just to see if there's any likelihood that will be voted on at any time in the near future.
Okay.
Chairman Boyer, Chief has asked me to stand in for this morning today and advise you that as far as the electrical panel 1-4, she thought a build out of like almost like a wooden cabinet around the panel would suffice for the state. Their concern is that there's water pipes by it, and if one of those water pipes lets go, it's going to spray the panel. So she felt that probably the least costliest fix for it would be to build a cabinet around it. As far as 1-5, that's all set. 1-3, the floor drains. She'd indicated that we're keeping up with that, keeping the floor dry, but that you and her, the committee and herself had talked about possibly snaking the drain. That might help.
Yep.
And then as far as the floor vents go, 1-1, we currently have water in them. It's almost coming up out of the floor. There's like a small stream in there. It's actively coming in. So we're trying to keep up with that as well.
Okay. Thank you for the updates. I think in regards to the electrical, I don't know if we'd have to find out if wood would
I
go,
don't know if
wood
that's
would
gonna
go
be
with
code,
electric.
yeah.
Right.
So that would be,
But there is, when I first researched this, there was, and I'm not gonna remember the name of it because it's so long ago, but there is like a plastic covering that you could put over it that would meet code. And I had an electrician come down and look at it. But we could potentially do that, but it's gonna be, I think, an estimate that I was researching online, it's probably gonna be a couple $1,000s to do it. But we could look at that. So either the wooden cabinet, if you wanna, just keep us informed on that, and then we'll have to determine if, we'll have to determine if that's gonna meet code, electrical meeting with wood. May not. And then we can also look at the other option that we had originally, in regards to those, and then we'll have to look, and I'll see if I can schedule a meeting in the next couple of weeks with the town administrator and see if there's anything we can do with the water coming out of the floor in the living room, kitchen area.
Yeah. And then the other thing I failed to mention is the roof still needs attention. It's still leaking.
Yeah, it's leaking with all the snow we had.
Oh, I bet that didn't help.
No.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. No, thank you for that. So, is there anything else? That's all we really have. We didn't have a lot of updates
Yeah,
this
okay.
time because we're just waiting. Like, is it?
That's in the big room down the hall.
Yeah.
Right when you walk in that door, you'll see it.
Other than we're just waiting on what we can do, how we can move forward with the water project and the fire station. We're still continuing to gather data for the fire station and putting some different things together regarding overall costs. Ambulance fund. We're still putting together ambulance fund numbers. We're still putting together operating costs numbers, and we're trending it over 3 years at this point. And so we're hoping to have a presentation ready soon that it will just kind of be, I'm going to call it a 1A, or it's not going to be where we're ready to submit designs of a new station. It's going to be more around what we talked about before with service models. And so I think it will really highlight some things in regards to the overall costs.
How do you anticipate the service model will affect the size of the station?
The service model really, because you can break out the service model into two components, non-EMS and EMS, and then you can have, and based off of what you decide within those models, that can determine what your staffing model is, and it's going to determine how you want to handle non-EMS calls and EMS calls. So there's different models that we will present to the residents in the near future once we have all the data together. But depending on how you want to depending on how basically the town needs to decide what it's willing to pay for in regards to service. So you want to look at the mutual aid calls, you want to look at the growth of those calls, you want to look at the growth of the non-EMS calls, you want to look at the growth of the EMS calls, you want to look at the overall growth of the budget, the appropriations, and actually what's being paid, the compensation around that, and then based off of all of that information, you can determine what model makes the most sense and what residents are willing to pay for in regards to public safety.
So you're really looking at digging into what the budget for the fire department should be, as opposed to, and then fold that into what the station should be.
I'm not looking at, no, I'm not looking, so we don't want to build the station around just the apparatus, right? We want to build a station around the service that the residents are willing to pay for.
What does that mean?
Well, that means, do we want to continue to, for an example, do we want to continue to support the growth in mutual aid that we've experienced over the last 4 years? Or is there another model that we could look at that could provide the same level of service and not and cost the town less? So for every additional person that's brought onto anywhere, the town, my company, somebody's company, it means it's additional real estate costs, additional utility costs, additional storage costs, additional room costs, additional supplies. So we have to look at all of the operating costs that we're looking at for this, for the station, and then see what the service, what the number of calls we're doing, and look at the categories of those calls and determine if there's a different way we can do it and provide the same level of service at a lower cost. Kind of like running like the town, right? The town needs to be running like its own business. If you're running your own business, how do we provide the same level of quality and service and timeliness to your customers, that but at a reduced cost? Because if you don't do it at a reduced cost, eventually somebody's going to replace you.
So but again, so you're looking at tying the budget of the fire department service and folding that into what the station should be, or you?
No, we're looking to. It's not. We're looking to determine we're looking to determine if there's a way that we can provide the same level of service at a lower cost.
And how does that relate to the size of the station?
Well, because if you don't have as many people, and you don't have if you're not growing department over a certain period of time, then you're not going to need a bigger station to support that.
There's two on 24/7 period, right?
Yep.
And then you have two during the day. So you have the administrative captain and the chief in addition to those two.
Yep.
And then you have the impact shifts, which are not overnights, they're there during the day. So I'm trying to figure out how that would impact the size of regardless of what that staffing model looks like, how that impacts the size of the station.
Yep.
So let's talk about like the plans that went out to bid already last year.
Yeah.
So when you look at those plans, from my perspective, there was space in that building that was bigger than it should have been, and there was space that we probably could have cut out of that, which would save a lot of money on square footage.
Like what? What are you referring to?
The conference or training room, I'm not sure what phrase they used on that, that had like 44 seats in it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a necessity.
Well, we have 40 members, and we do drills. Like the winter drills, we do inside. We do tabletops and stuff like that.
You had that, but you also had another conference room too. There was some square footage that was questionable, in my opinion. From my background in construction, I was looking at it saying, I think some of this is redundant. I think there's some areas that maybe we could look at and examine closer in the cost per square, because it is so high. Every square foot counts,
Okay.
in my opinion.
Right.
So I think like that is something that needs to be considered. And we're not like necessarily like going back to those plans, but that was the basis of design that we were working from and we had looked at. But I think that there can be some improvements made, 100%.
Where do you see the improvements being made?
I-
Besides the conference room?
I'd have to pull them back up. I looked at it a couple weeks ago, but that was like one of the big ones for me was that. Some of the living spaces, I think we need to re-examine a lot of it. I need to like actually have a full set of the plans in front of me, which I do have now available to me because I did request them, and I got them. So that is something I'm going to take time and go over more closely.
So, so then that leads me back to this whole, you're looking into the model of operations. I still don't understand how that relates to the size of the
Yep.
station.
So,
Because, and if you just hear me out, like I
Yep.
said, we have 2 on 24/7. That's not gonna change. Sometimes we have, the impact shifts are there during the day.
Yep.
Some overnight. You're talking one additional person, correct? Overnight. We have 40 members, thereabouts total, per diem, part-time, the whole gamut.
Yep.
They're not there all the time. But we do need the training space for them, but that's fine if you wanna look at that. And so I'm still, how did,
so one of the things you need to look at, we're not looking at today, right? We're
Right.
looking at tomorrow.
right,
And tomorrow, we're looking at 25 to 30 years.
right.
So you're telling me now, in 30 years, you can guarantee that the staffing model is not going to change?
No, it will probably increase.
Okay. So for every increase, then what I'm saying is that every increase of staffing means additional square footage. Could be additional bunk rooms, could be additional kitchen area, could be additional living area. We need to look at some of the other stations that have gone up recently and see how they're modeling, to see how it may intertwine or give us ideas on what we might be able to do in order to staff a station that is similar in nature, that could handle the number of calls that we do. That's why we're looking at the future. So the population, the number of calls with population, we're looking at number of calls, breaking down the number of calls. We have to look at all of the data, and the data will tell you the story. It will tell you the factual story of what's going to happen. Like in the annual report, population's gone down as of 2024. It's gone from 2,900 to 2,813. But your number of calls have gone up. But now your number of calls, mutual aid calls are up to 24%. Right, so.
That brings in revenue to the department.
It brings in revenue, but it doesn't mean you're profitable.
We're not a business, and we're there regardless.
But that's what the town, the residents need to determine. The residents need to determine is every mutual aid call we make to another town is resources that our town is paying for. And not every mutual aid call has a transport.
Okay, and what are those resources? Because those.
What are those resources?
Yeah, those personnel are on regardless.
Personnel?
Hold on. The personnel are that on regardless of whether or not they go out on a call. So the only
Yeah.
real resource would be diesel and/or wear and tear on the vehicle.
Yep, and if they're on the call, if it depends on who the person is, but then you're talking about workman's comp,
No.
Health
that's-
insurance.
That's there regardless.
overtime. So we're looking at all of the numbers to determine if there's different models that we can implement that would reduce the size of the building that we need, support the apparatus that's required, and provide the same level of service to the residents or better, that they get today. That's why we're looking at all the numbers. We just can't build a station to build a station. At least in my opinion. We have to look at what the numbers are and what the trends are over the last 3 years. Calls have gone up. Mutual aid calls have gone up. Fire calls have gone down. So what can we?
Yeah, that's the other thing you brought up is the fire calls.
Can I interrupt for a minute, because I do not want to tread into open meeting law violation, because we've gone off the agenda.
Yep.
And
Okay.
I, no disrespect, but I have no problem having this put onto an agenda so we can discuss it, Andrew, I totally.
That's
it-
fine.
It's something
That's
to
fine. I
absolutely
don't wanna-
discuss,
I
but I don't
don't-
wanna, I
I don't
wanna
wanna go
slip
into
off
that
and,
territory.
yeah. I don't wanna slip in hot water on that.
That's fine.
But, if you send us a note, we would absolutely add it onto the agenda and have a, be able to have a discussion and people know that we're gonna discuss it, so they
Right.
can.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry,
No need to apologize.
I have to be the Debbie Downer in the group. I don't mean to.
So, that being said, then our next meeting will be April 15th at 6 PM.
All right.
And then is there a motion to adjourn?
Second the motion. All in
All
favor?
in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
April 15th.